Hey guys, today I'm going to be reviewing the Mehron Foundation Greasepaint in white. Usually I use water activated paints, but if you try and do like full white bases with water activated paints, then it can be a bit of a pain to get that really nice opaque coverage. So I'm hoping that the grease paint is going to be a bit better. You get 1.25 ounces or 35 grams for your money, and this cost me £10.95. But I did buy it from a shop. You might be able to get a better deal online, and I think they're a bit cheaper in America as well. So with the water activated paints, you do get slightly more, and they are slightly cheaper. You get 1.4 ounces and 40 grams for your money. And you mix the water ones with water, obviously, to activate them. So I think that this would probably last for more applications, but maybe this one's going to be better to give you that really good coverage. So it comes in like a pot thing. It doesn't have the ingredients on the back, which I don't like. I always like to know what's in my products, and I don't like to have to go and search for it online. I like it to just be there on the back for me. And it has a see-through screw top lid, so you can easily see what color is in there. So here is our cake, and it's really, really solid. I know people hate it when you say like, oh, this is so buttery, but like seriously, this is like butter that's been in the fridge. But look how thick it is. So it's like really, really pigmented and opaque and thick. Let's see how it does on the face, I guess. So it looks like you can kind of apply it sheer if you like smudge it around. But it is a bit difficult to get it even if you want it sheer. I'm going to try applying it with a sponge and see how that goes. So you do have to kind of dig around in it to pick up the product. Let's see how this goes. Wow, it smells really, really nice. What is that? It smells... Wait, maybe that's my sponge. Okay, I don't know what it smells like. I think it smells a bit like crayons. So it looks like applying it with a sponge, it is quite hard to get an even base. It's like coming quite patchy, but it's a lot easier to build. I know it is still applying quite unevenly, but let's see. I'm going to try with a brush. I don't want to dip my brush in this really because it's grease paint. I know it's going to be a pain to clean my brush afterwards. So it picks up quite nicely with a brush. This is quite a firm brush. I don't think with a soft brush that you would be able to really pick up the product so well. And it's applying a lot more evenly with the brush than it did with the sponge. So it looks like once you apply it onto your face, you kind of have to work it a bit. It's almost like as it gets warmer, it gets easier to spread out. I would say this is still a lot easier than the water activated paints though for getting a base. Like it's giving me a lot more coverage than the water activated paints do. It does feel very, very thick on the skin though. Like this isn't something, I mean obviously you wouldn't wear, you know, or maybe you would wear full on white paint every day, but it does feel quite heavy, but it doesn't feel maskish. You know, like with a water activated wax paint, they can feel quite sort of masky, and when you move your face it feels like it's gonna crack, and sometimes it does crack. This doesn't feel like it would crack. It feels like it's very flexible, more like a very, very heavy foundation. Because it's really sticky, like when you apply it, the brush really kind of drags your skin. So I'm not going to apply it under my eyes with this brush because my under eyes do not need any help with the effects of dragging. Okay, so this is like an initial layer and it is very patchy right now. So I'm going to see what we can do to make it not patchy. So I'm going to take the sponge and just kind of tap it over the top to see if I can even that out a bit. You do need to set grease paint as well, like it doesn't really set on its own, so I have some white powder to set it with. The Mehron color set powder, the Mehron color set powder that you use for clown white. So I'm going to set it with that because it says it's translucent, but it looks like it's white. So the tapping does seem to be working. It does seem to be making it much more even. But look, it's really awesome. It's given a really, really quick opaque coverage, really, really fast. But one of the things with grease paint is obviously it's greasy. And so I don't think you can really use a water activated paint over the top because it's going to bead up. You would need to use another type of grease paint probably. Maybe if we set it though, then it will be okay. I'm going to try and put some, really badly angled swatches on my arms. Let's try that again. Okay, that's better. Now you can see. Okay, so I'm going to try putting some water activated paint on it, but without setting it first and see how that goes. And I think this is just going to bead up. It kind of would make sense for that to happen. Oh, how do people do this? I feel like a contortionist. Oh, okay, no, it does seem to work. It doesn't seem to be beading up at all, but I'm still gonna just, but it did transfer a bit onto my brush. I'm not sure if you can see that, but some of the white grease paint has come off on the brush. But I mean, it's still given really good coverage. The grease paint hasn't mixed into the water-based paint. So let's set the other one and see what happens. When you set it, you can see that it's really kind of matted it down and the color isn't as opaque as it was before I powdered it. It seems to work fine both ways. If you don't set it first though, it's much more it's much easier to smudge. Like I can feel the white smudging into the black, whereas on this one it feels much less smudgy. The white isn't picking up quite as much as it is with the unset one. But you know, that's kind of what I expected to happen because it's grease paint. The thing with grease paint though is because it is such a thick formula, if I grab another brush, it would be really difficult to do like fine, can you see that? No. It would be really difficult to do like very fine details and thin lines. Like it wouldn't be impossible. Like you could do a winged liner with this. It's quite similar in consistency to a gel liner. But this wouldn't be like a good go-to paint for, this is so hard. How do people do this? But this wouldn't be like a great one for doing detail work. You'd probably want to go in with like maybe a wax-based paint or something instead for detail work. It's quite creasy though. Like this is still not set. I'm going to set it in a minute. But without it being set, if I like wrinkle my face, like then you can see where the wrinkles, like where the skins touched each other, the paint has like rubbed off on either side. So let me just fix that little mess. Oh, it's like having your face covered in lip gloss, like my hair just keeps sticking to it. I really should have tied my hair up first, I guess. Okay, so now I'm gonna set it. Like, it feels very, very wet. Like, you know, this is not touch proof. If I touch, like, you can see how much like transfer and how it's just rubbed off that area straight away. So let's set it with the color set powder and see if that helps. The only thing with this color set powder is it doesn't come with, oh dear, it doesn't come with like a, getting grease paint on my clothes. Oh God, it's so sticky, guys. Seriously, oh my word. The only thing with this color set powder is it doesn't come with a, I don't know what they're called. You know those little sieve things that go on the top? So you kind of like, if you're using a brush like this, you need to pop like a little bit in the lid so you can use it. Otherwise, you know, it's going to be so thick. Maybe you want that really thick coverage. Okay, it's all starting to feel a little bit gross. The powder is sticking to it in a really, really uneven way, so it looks very, very cakey right now. You don't actually need color set powder for this. You can just use like baby powder or talcum powder or something. I've seen some people doing that, and it seems to work pretty well. Oh, God. It's horrible. Every time I touch my face, it feels so greasy. It's, oh. I think this would work better if you had like, you know, the big powder puff, so you can just really like go crazy. Doing it with a brush is a pain. I am absolutely covered in fallout from this, but it's just not setting, guys. Like, oh, okay, it is, but you have to get an absolute bucket ton of this powder on. There's so much powder on it that it's starting to look, you know, like you know that fake snow you get at Christmas? It's starting to kind of get a bit like that. It's really quite cakey with the powder. Maybe if we buff it. There's like powder everywhere. My poor lungs. Okay, so once it's set, it is quite touch proof. Like, it doesn't feel smudgy or greasy or anything anymore, except in the areas that I've missed. How did I manage to miss areas? I put so much powder on my face. So I think it would work much better if you had like a big powder puff and you could just go really crazy and get like a massively thick layer of powder on your face, and then just brush off the excess, but kind of leave it on there for like a minute just to absorb, like you would with like baking or something. Just let it all absorb all the moisture from the grease paint and then brush off the excess, and I think you would get like a much more even coating of the powder. So I actually really like this. I think it's given really, really good coverage. The powder thing is obviously a bit of a problem because I do look very cakey right now. But now that it's powdered, you know, it's very touch proof. It feels quite smudge proof. I would imagine because it's a grease paint that it's going to stand up to sweat and stuff quite a lot better than the water activated paints. Maybe I'll buy myself one of those like big poof things so I can really powder my face. But yeah, I like it. It doesn't feel that heavy on my face. I would compare it to maybe a medium to heavy coverage foundation. And I normally wear light foundations, and this isn't bothering me too much. You know, it doesn't feel like too masky. So yeah, I like it. I did think it was a bit expensive when I first got it because, you know, it's $10.95 for this cake, and, you know, a Snazzaroo, which is this side, which is water activated. You know, they're almost the same size, and I think this is like half the price. It's like a $5. But the coverage on this is amazing. I don't think I would bother trying to do white bases with a water activated paint with now that I've got this one. But I do have some other whites that we're going to be testing out over the next couple of weeks. So it didn't actually use that much product to get this application. I'm quite surprised, like nicely surprised. So I think you'll be able to get quite a lot of applications out of this. I will keep track of, every application I do with this with pictures, and when it's nearly empty, we'll do an empties review of it, and I'll show you, how many applications you can get from this. So yeah, I am going to do a look on top of this, and then I will come back and update you on how that went, and yeah, so I'll see you in a bit. So we've just done a paint on top of it, and I used gel liner because I thought the consistencies would go well together, but maybe it would have been better to use water-based paint. Maybe I will do that next time. I did read online a bit as well, and it said, using a powder puff is going to work much better for setting it because you won't get this like powder clumping that I've got going on. I have noticed that kind of on the cheek, it's not quite as opaque as I'd like it. There is still a bit of skin tone showing through, but not much. It's held up really, really well in comparison to water activated paint. So I'm still really, really happy with it. There's no kind of cracking or anything going on. I didn't set my neck quite as well, so you can see in the creases, where it's kind of transferring and rubbing off just because it is still quite sticky. Oh, I read as well that if you don't have a powder puff, you can fill a thin cotton sock with talcum powder or setting powder and just kind of wave it around your face. You're not supposed to touch your face with it, otherwise it will lift the paint. So maybe next time I will give something like that a go if I still don't have a powder puff. The one thing I will say is that even though before I said that it didn't feel very thick, that it was kind of medium heavy coverage foundation, it has got a bit warmer, and now it does feel like I can feel like there's something on my face, and it feels a bit greasy and a bit weird, but nothing too dramatic, nothing that would kind of, because this isn't an everyday thing that I would be wearing, it's nothing that would stop me from wearing it if I wanted an opaque white base when I was body painting and I was out. It does hold up very well with the heat as well. I'm not noticing any kind of running or reactivation of the paint, which is great. I think this would hold up really, really nicely, for Halloween or something where you're going to be wearing it a long time. So yeah, I really actually like this paint. I think it's really nice. I'm going to try and do some other stuff with it. Maybe I will do an updated first impressions where I try setting it differently and maybe try a different type of paint on top of it to see how that goes. If I do that, I will link the video obviously here or something. But yeah, so I'm really liking this one. I think next time we'll try the Clown White or the Mehron Cream Blend Stick, because I have both of those as well and I really want to try those out. So I will think of some more white based looks that we can mess around with. So yeah, anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. I will try and get some more reviews and stuff up. If there is anything in particular that you want me to review, that if I have it or can get hold of it, then let me know in the comments and I will do my best to review that for you, or, first impressions it. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.